Hey everybody, whoa, it's N. I'm DeoGenZ, and welcome back to my Pokemon Black walkthrough. It has been a while, guys. My computer was out at HP, just in case you weren't following my other walkthroughs, and it got its fans cleaned so I could continue to make the walkthroughs like I do. So now we're just going to get right back into it, but before we do, N has to conversate with us. Have to throw his Poke philosophies our way. And while he does that, you could read that and simultaneously listen to a separate idea that me and you, the viewers, talked about during our live cast last week. And that was, well, actually, not last week, depending upon when you view this, but that was, what if you played Pokemon Gray from the side of Team Plasma? Got it from their perspective. And maybe you were starting out as a grunt, or maybe you even have to play from the side of N. Now that would be a really crazy perspective. You'd have to encounter Gichizu and control the minions of Team Plasma. Also, I'm sure that there would be an alternate way of finding Pokemon. It wouldn't be just the simple battle, capture, okay, now store them in the PC forever until they never see the light of day again kind of method. What you'd have to do is search for Poke Pals, friends in your Pokemon region or route that will actually join your fight. But since they're from the wild, they'll have no EVs, they'll have no pre-training, so whatever moves they have, you're going to have to deal with. It could be certainly interesting. And of course that raises the question, would the main characters of this game, the girl and boy, that are you, the player, would they be the one who face you as N, and you'd have to take them down, or, I'm not sure. Not sure, but it would be interesting. On the last live cast, me and my viewers were discussing, what about the other teams in other games? You know, why do we never hear their side of the story? We're always having to kick their ass. I understand it's good versus evil sort of thing, and yes, N shakes his head. I shake my head too, N, to how long your cutscene is. And this was partially my fault too, because I was trying to gather how long I would need for the text box to be on screen, but anyway. Why don't we ever see it from the bad villain's point of view? Imagine if you were on the precipice of creating new dimensions in Pokemon Platinum, and maybe he had. Maybe you'd help Cyrus complete his goal, and then you'd have to go to that alternate dimension, and the laws of Pokemon physics will change. It would be sort of like the distortion world, except all over, and then you'd have to figure out how to catch Pokemon in that sort of way. But jump cut to the route that we're going to. Again, I apologize for misjudging how long those text boxes need to be on screen. I'll remind you that this is footage from the 80% speed emulator, and it's kind of a draw on how the speeds are going to go. But since we're just slowly warming back up into the Pokemon Black walkthrough, there's not going to be much going on in this episode today. Or is there? Oh, you're going to have to just watch and see. But since I can run these battles at full speed, I will. Usually I speed the battles up if we don't have enough time to meet the 15-minute limit, which apparently everybody does not have. It's only because I got a strike from the Pokemon Japanese anime company once for releasing beta art screens of the Pokemon Black and White critters. Wasn't trying to do anything lethal, but I guess the strike prevents me from getting unlimited time, which really sucks, because it would be so much more comprehensive if I could just end videos on my terms, but at the same time, I've discussed this many times before, it kind of gets me to be more creative in doing things on time and trying to fit a certain limit that lets me think about who's viewing and how long they really want to view it for. You don't want to be sitting here watching a half-hour Pokemon Black walkthrough video, and most of that time is just pointless trainer battles. Not what you want to be into. So now that we have earned our badge from Skyla, we can continue on exploring towards Twist Mountain. Egad! It's Cheren, DeoGenZ. Since we both hold the jet badge now, let's see which of us is stronger. Okay, Cheren. Again, let me save you some time in wondering and battling, and just tell you it's going to be me. You won't get my experience points, you rivaling bastard, you. Pretty cool that we have 2 rivals, but then again, think about it, it's more like 3 rivals if you want to include N and Bianca, and of course Cheren. So if the Pokemon Company thought they were really stirring up the formula there, they'd be a tad incorrect. They could do a lot more to mix it up, but hey, I'm not complaining. The more experience points, the better. And by this point, you should have a Pokemon that has a rock type move, or an ice type, or of course an electric type, which you could find back in the, what was it, Charged Stone Cave. Yes, I was thinking about Twist Mountain, and I'm like, Twisting Cave? Winding Way? What was it called? It was Charged Stone Cave, which makes a lot of sense, because you can find pre-evolution of Galvantula, which we got successfully in the last episode of the Black Walkthrough. Go check that out if you missed it. That was an awesome evolution. But you can also find a Joltik in there. Not a Joltik, that is the Pokemon that's pre-evolved, but whatever the pre-evolution of... Oh, Tynamo, that's it. Electros. Electros is pre-evolution. Tynamo. That's the electric eel type. Cheren's team's pretty simple, so long as you have the type counterbalances. I would not send my Duat out to fight his Servine, but our Fire Monk gaining a level will do the trick. Yep, at this point in the game, you should probably have your team well solidified and not be switching too many more times. The only reason I could see you maybe switching out your team, or, well, you know what, if you have a free spot in your team because you're looking for a flying type Pokemon like I was during my White walkthrough a couple months back, then there's going to be an interesting Pokemon in the upcoming town of Icarus City that you might want to look into. It has the ability to fly, and its name is Golurk. Now, this is an awesome thing about Galvantula. Even though, unlike Electros, it doesn't have Levitate, so Earthquakes will hit it, it still has the dual type of being Bug Electric. So, our Signal Beam will be super effective. Plus, it's a special attack, which Galvantula is high up in. And no, I'm not EV training him, but still, just looking at the base stats, it's something to consider. Alright, awesome. Who was that? Oh, my kneecaps are shattered. If it isn't the champion Alder, I'm weak, so I lost. And honestly, it bothers me when you call it a fine battle. Oh, honestly, Cheren, stop being such a baby. Own up to your losses, and go forth and train. I really like that in this game they made the Elite Four champion go out and roam the lands. I mean, sure, Lance in the Johto series, he went out and helped you with the whole Lake of Rage incident and Team Rocket, but he wasn't exploring Johto just for pleasure. He was on a mission to kick some ass. Alder, he's a fun-loving type. He goes to carnivals, he goes to street performances, checks up on all the local trainers. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's a champion that Unova can count on. And we can too. He can get you across the water to further explore Unova if you don't have the power already. Which of course you won't unless you're playing non-legit. Well, you don't have to play non-legit. You could be legitly trading over Wi-Fi and then just happen to get a Pokemon that has the ability called Surf. But otherwise, Alder is the means of getting that HM. Yeah, sure. Next time, Cheren. Next time. There won't be a next time. At least one in which you win. That won't happen. Okay, some more experience points galore. Oh man, normal speed battles. They're funny to watch now. See, I don't have to worry about taking out a boulder in one shot because he has the ability Sturdy. And you know, it's interesting to make notes about abilities and having your team work together with the abilities. I mean, we've passed through many routes where there were complementary abilities, but for one that could be a quick strategy, something like a sandstorm team, if you'd want to go with that, you'd be dealing with more bulky Pokemon, probably who would be weak to earthquake and water type moves. But if you counterbalance that, having some surprising grass knots on your team and boost up in special defense, you should have no problems. Also, there's great abilities that now in the 5th gen completely cut down other Pokemon's abilities, such as Mummy. And the Pokemon that has the ability Mummy would be Cofagrigus. I'm trying to think if Yamask has Mummy too. It might have Mummy, but that's the pre-evolution of it. And it could be found back at the Desert Ruins. And when it's hit with a physical type move, pretty sure it's a physical type move, then the opponent's ability changes to Mummy, which of course does nothing but change whoever hits it next into Mummy. So then you'd want to switch out into a special attacker, and if someone had a challenging ability like Own Tempo that stopped your team from using confusion pluses to your tactics, then that would squash it and kibosh it and no problem. And then you can hit them with confusion beams and... No, there's no confusion beam. Although that would be an awesome attack. Pikachu, use Confusion Beam! But Confuse Ray and Swagger. I was thinking about that for a EV training team around Slowking. Even though Slowking has nothing to do with the 5th gen, still, he has Own Tempo. And in order to get rid of that, you'd want to bait your opponent, assuming that he uses physical type moves. Because if that Slowbro or Slowking was special, it wouldn't have its ability changed. So be wary of abilities because they can make for an extraordinary team, even if you have a lot of similar types. Because me personally, I do this with many of my past Pokemon games. I just raise those that I find awesome looking. And sometimes the coolest Pokemon in my eye are not always the best type matches. So the abilities kind of counteract for that. And unfortunately, we've come up upon the time limit for this video, so let's grab this item, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of my Pokemon Black walkthrough.